Things are strange. Things are rarely as they seem, as they would have it said. Where yesterday I was going to make a recording for today, and I also was more or less fading in and out of this version of reality, trying to accept a slightly different understanding of the space-time continuum, as it were. And today, I'm back in the way things are. It feels kind of strange being able to enter back into a world after more or less abandoning it. It's like something you never knew that you wanted is close, but also outside of your reach. It's this very strange feeling. And then you end up coming back to a different thing that is old and familiar, and it's not necessarily comforting, but you also have no ability to necessarily be anywhere but where that is. So it's more of an acceptance than it is a oof type feeling. It's trying to understand sort of a place or a time or a thing that's outside of a realm of understanding, yet also is perfectly within the domain of your existence. Therefore, you do understand simply by virtue of coexisting with the thing. The only thing that we can't truly understand are things that we cannot fully incorporate into our being, I suppose. This would be then things that exist alongside us, but we have no ability to perceive. Things that would then be labeled something along the lines of a fourth dimensional being. We live in a world where there are many things that cannot be explained by rational terminology because they are manipulated by forces that we cannot see, forces that we cannot measure, because we have either difficulty comprehending them or haven't thought about them in the right way yet. This leads us to believe that there are things that are outside of our rational world, which is possible. It's also possible that our understanding of the world as it is simply incomplete, which then would lead us to believe that there is something to strive for. Our understanding of the universe is a very finite thing, but also one would hope that it would grow with us. But the question is, how quickly can an understanding of something grow? How quickly can a human evolve? How quickly can a brain learn something new? And in what way would we incorporate being that we cannot observe, and yet there are things beyond our reckoning that are accepted as true, even though there are no evidences for them, and yet there are those who would say that such concepts are ridiculous, which is understandable, but it's also very narrow-minded. A narrow-minded perspective is not necessarily particularly useful in our world, because narrow-minded is more or less the antithesis of what has made us strong, who we are, and be able to survive in a slew of different situations. So, it is seen as less than ideal to have a less than open-minded perspective on things, which I could agree with. But there is a place in the world for everything. Even the extremists, they are meant to exist to be more or less a caricature of what not to be, rather than ever actually being something that is given power. But in these days, everyone is given equal shares because everyone feels that deserves equal footing, even if it is something that is harmful, which there's honor to that. However, I don't think honor is something that should necessarily be so liberally applied to those who would not, in return, give such honor back. We live in a largely karmatic world, yes, but some redistributions of karma have to be done manually in some instances. It's unlikely that the earth itself is going to reach out and redistribute wealth, considering that we are the ones who established what wealth is, where value comes from, what is valuable. These are all human concepts, not earthly concepts. Now, acting in particularly heinous ways is arguably seen as unearthly, but also, once again, humanity is something that applies these concepts. What is or is not the right way is irrelevant because it's not damaging to the world in and of itself. Humanity eventually will overstay its welcome. And even if they destroy themselves, in all likelihood it shouldn't technically destroy the planet. We have the power to, of course, but it is more likely that we kill ourselves than that we would be able to kill the planet. And then there are people that would argue that the planet is not alive. Well, our planet is more alive than others. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned the theory, but I had a theory in the past, well, I guess it's more of a hypothesis, that all planets were alive at some point, and then things happened. And I think we are the thing that is happening to our planet. We, this strange, bizarre coincidence / accident, is being allowed to run rampant on this beautiful planet because there is no force stopping us except for ourselves. And yet, well, we could then argue that we could kill the planet, but I really don't think any human in the current world has it in them to do so, because if they did, it would already be dead. Everyone's too selfish, and nobody has the ability yet to form a self-sustaining ecosystem outside of our planet. If they did, we'd probably be doomed, because, a lot of us aren't able to get off this planet particularly easily. And even if we were, there'd be a lot of people very attached to this planet, for good reason. It's our home, more or less. And yet we're still adapted in a lot of weird ways that make us seem like we don't belong here. And then there's that whole two different theories. One being that we were placed here by a extraterrestrial species, another that we evolved from aquatic apes. I don't know. It's not my place to judge that. I just want to live. I just want people to stop being extreme. people should be more middle of the road.